Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Draft University is in session with our first video here on YouTube, and what better to debut than it's that time of year when everybody likes to piss in the wind 32 different times. Our first round mock draft. We're going to do this Mel Kiper style, no trades here, and let's see how it goes. So let's put the Chicago Bears on the clock, and with the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. And look, obviously, right, GM Ryan Poles can try and be cute and say that we'll all have to wait for Thursday night, but we all know the pick. There's no need to spend a ton of time here. Caleb Williams, Chicago Bears. With the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Jaden Daniels, quarterback, LSU, and former Arizona State head coach Herm Edwards, who recruited Daniels to Tempe, comped him to Randall Cunningham. If you're somebody that's into comps, there you go, for whatever that's worth. The reigning Heisman Trophy winner, he comes with plenty of experience as a 5-year starter. He's got that ability to run that stands out when you watch him, but he's a very smart player with a high football IQ that also allows him to go through his progressions in the pocket. He completed 72% of his passes this past season. The deep ball needs a little bit of work, and he'll grow into his body, so he won't be as slender as he is now. And typical Washington, spent a ton of money in free agency, adding Austin Eckler on the offensive side of the ball. And with a weapon at quarterback that's as intelligent as Daniels to go along with Scary Terry and Jahan Dotson, the additions of Frankie Louvu and Jeremy Chin on defense, it's exciting times if you're a Commanders fan, even though that team name is still fucking awful. With the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina. Shout out to new Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo, fellow Kickotan High alum. And I can see the Patriots taking Marvin Harrison Jr. here, considering they recently took Mac Jones in the first round. He had nothing to work with, but Bill Belichick's no longer there in a receiver class that you'll see quality perimeter talent available early in the second round. And Bill Belichick notoriously couldn't draft receivers to save his life. N'Keal Harry, Tyquan Thornton just wasn't something he excelled at. So you got to take the QB here and circle back around, get your receiver in the second round. May had a much better 2022 campaign than he's coming off of entering the draft, but he's got all those intangibles that you want at the quarterback position. 6'4", 225 with impressive arm strength. He's the prototype at quarterback among this class. And what you'll notice with May that needs improvement at the next level are all things that coaching can fix. Some bad decisions here and there, mechanics where he'll kind of tweak his throwing motion. And if Alex Van Pelt and Ben McAdoo can work with him and kind of clean that stuff up, May's got all the tools to have a long, successful NFL career. With the fourth pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver, Ohio State. And the Cardinals were a pesky football team last year. They were a tough squad, but you can't expect like Greg Dortch to hold it down at wide receiver for Kyler Murray on a weekly basis. Harrison Jr. is the most anticipated wide receiver prospect we've seen in years. With an NFL pedigree, his pops was an NFL Hall of Famer. He's not a true burner like Malik Neighbors, but that doesn't stop him from making plays at all three levels. He does everything well. He runs great, sudden routes. He's got great hands and ball skills. He's exceptional at adjusting his body to throws. He's that high-volume target that you want as a true wide receiver one that'll allow last year's second-rounder Michael Wilson an opportunity to flourish on the boundary. And when you're an organization that had Larry Fitzgerald for almost 2 decades, there's really no better successor than Marvin Harrison Jr. With the fifth pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU. Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers could go multiple directions here. If there's no movement from 1 to 4, this is where the draft feels like it truly begins. 2 months ago, I had Brock Bowers at this spot. I think Harbaugh would like to go O-line here to bookend Rashawn Slater, maybe a Joe Alt. But with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams gone, Quentin Johnston didn't show enough as a rookie. And, Neighbors gives Justin Herbert that bona fide wide receiver one in the Chargers offense. He's the burner that's going to take the top off of defense for you. He's explosive off the snap and to the whistle, elite hands, and the ability to go up and grab it and rack up those yak yards we all love so much. He's going to go up and get those top shelf balls and, 50-50 balls. He's a tough 6 foot, 200 pounds. And, he can frame that body with the best of them to make a catch in traffic. He doesn't have the polish that you'd want throughout the entire route tree in a top 5 pick, but everything else is there. And with a guy like Justin Herbert, you'll have possibly the most lethal weapon on the perimeter in the AFC West. With the 6th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington. So we had 3 quarterbacks to start the draft and 3 receivers after that with this pick. Quarterback doesn't make a ton of sense to me here at this spot with Daniel Jones's contract. I think you give him another year where you actually give him somebody to throw to and then go from there. There's a lot of unknowns for the Giants on the outside. I love the Jalen Hyatt pick last year. And Wan'Dale Robinson's a guy that they spent a high draft pick on in 2022, second round. But he's been injured so often. And Odunze gives the Giants a top-end talent on the perimeter with good size for the NFL level. It's 6'3", 212. And like Harrison Jr., he isn't a true burner, but he creates separation as well as anybody in this draft. And he can use that frame against defenders if he's in that tight window to get those 50-50 balls. He's excellent at tracking the ball in the air to put himself in position to make a play. He's a day one starter anywhere he goes. And I think he's got a high floor in this draft, and he gives the Giants offense that shot in the arm that it sorely needs. With the 7th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Joe Alt, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Now, odds are, especially with the trades, that, one of these top 3 receivers falls to Tennessee, and I think that's a conversation the Titans GM Rand Carthon will have in the war room. Maybe an edge rusher, but ultimately I think the trenches absolutely make the most sense here. I like Will Levis a lot. They've added Calvin Ridley to go along with an aging DeAndre Hopkins, 2022 first-rounder Traylon Burks. And yes, D-Hop's 31, his best days are behind him, and Burks is young. My point is the cupboard isn't as bare here in the receiver room where it kind of is with the previous teams, so you can look elsewhere. And Peter Skoronski was one of my favorite players in last year's draft and a home run for the Titans, who just paid Lloyd Cushenberry $50 million, $30 million guaranteed over 4 years at center to come over from Denver. But as tough as Will Levis is, you've got to have more there, and Joe Alt fits the bill perfectly. He's got an NFL bloodline like Harrison Jr. His old man was a first-round pick by Kansas City in 1984, and he has mammoth size and length at 6'9", 320 pounds with 34-inch arms. He packs a nice punch and pass pro, has great footwork and quickness to get to the second level and finish in the run game, which new running back Tony Pollard will appreciate. Got to clean up that tendency to lean a bit, and that's got to be addressed. But, that aside, Alt's probably the most pro-ready tackle in this class, and it's a deep one. With the 8th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo. The Falcons are poised to break out in a weaker NFC. You got Kirk Cousins joining Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. They also picked up Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney for depth there along the perimeter. They've invested heavily in their secondary with a big contract for Jesse Bates last year. Richie Grant's been a nice player at safety as well for him, and A.J. Terrell's a former All-Pro. So if you can find his tag team partner, you've got sort of the final piece to the puzzle there. It's a down class for elite edge rushers. Like, you don't have that lock Aiden Hutchinson type, and I know Dallas Turner's the consensus pick here, and call it a gut feeling with Mitchell, but corner is one of the deep spots in this draft, and he appears to be the best of the bunch, and he put an exclamation mark on it with a phenomenal Senior Bowl. He checks every box. Size for the position, 6 foot 195. Scheme versatility, can play man or zone coverage. He's a ball hawk. 6 interceptions and 37 PBUs over the last 2 seasons. He's outstanding in run support. He's willing to come up and get dirty and make a tackle. Pass rusher might be the bigger need here with A.J. Terrell already on the roster, and you've got young, unproven players like Arnold Ebiketie and Zach Harrison on the edge. But the upside of adding a sure thing like Mitchell here is too hard to pass up. With the 9th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Laiatu Latu, edge rusher out of UCLA. And this is one of those where, even with adding Keenan Allen, to DJ Moore. Wide receiver still makes a ton of sense. I can see Odunze possibly being here of the three, but in this scenario, they're all gone. So you add Latu opposite Montez Sweat, who was an awesome midseason pickup last year. I get it with Dallas Turner. I see why guys like him, but to me, Latu's got the best skill set of the edge rushers in this class, and Ryan Poles hasn't been afraid to go against public, opinion before. Just look at last year with Darnell Wright, 10th overall. 23 sacks over the last 2 years for Latu, who's a mature, intelligent player who comes equipped with an arsenal of pass rush moves. He's got all the instincts you want and plays with a motor that makes him disruptive in the pass and the running game. Yes, there's the neck injury, but he's been cleared time and time again. And if you have your doctors look at him and give him the green light, I think he's a home run pick. I love Latu to Chicago at this point, and with the 48th pick, I think you can get that complimentary receiver, whether it be Ricky Pearsall, Malachi Corley, Xavier Worthy, whoever, when you circle back around in the second round. Let's round out the top 10 with the 10th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. The New York Jets select Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. It's been a busy offseason for Jets GM Joe Douglas, and we all remember what happened with Aaron Rodgers, so yes, tackle makes sense here. But among the moves the Jets have made, we're bringing in two new bookends at tackle in Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. Now, both guys are 33 years old right now and have dealt with injuries, yes, but you've got a limited amount of opportunity, a window of opportunity with Aaron Rodgers that you absolutely have to capitalize on. And no disrespect to Tyler Conklin, he's a fine player, but Bowers just puts this Jets offense where it needs to be in terms of weaponry. 6'3", 243, length, 78-inch wingspan. He's got wide receiver qualities at the tight end position. He's a big play threat every single snap, and he's got long speed and can rack up yak yards, which you don't see every day from a tight end. Runs great routes, works hard to contribute in the run game. Shout out Breece Hall. Just a wildly dynamic weapon for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets that will take some of the pressure off of Garrett Wilson, even with the addition of Mike Williams. With the 11th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. Now, he's one of the most intriguing prospects in this draft, one of the most polarizing. A five-star recruit. He improved this past year, started every game for Michigan en route to a national championship. He's got all the preliminaries you want. He's a little small in the size department at 6'2", 220, but he's got a good arm, completed 72% of his passes in 2023, and he's an athlete that can make a play when the play breaks down, but he isn't going to work outside of the structure of the play itself, and it's yet to be seen how he can handle that in-game adversity, and he needs to develop, but I think Kevin O'Connell's an underrated coach who also played quarterback at the NFL level, backed up Tom Brady, and I think Minnesota, obviously, look, the weapons they have, this is a best-case scenario for McCarthy to succeed in the NFL. Minnesota reportedly loves Drake May, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they move up. In fact, I expect it, whether it be for May or whomever. But with no trades here, and yes, there's going to be a ton on Thursday night, but this is the way the chips fall, and you can expect Minnesota to leave night one with a new signal caller. With the 12th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama. Zach Wilson isn't enough to remove quarterback from the equation here. But I think it plays a role for Denver, even though they still have to leave this weekend with a quarterback. The Broncos have needs all over the place, and you've got less ammo if you're Denver than other teams that could be looking to move up. They don't pick until 76 in the third round after this pick here. They ranked 22nd in the NFL in sacks in 2023, and some think Turner's the best edge rusher in the draft, so he's good value at this spot. He's got that length that's so valuable on the edge, 34-inch arms, explosive, incredibly athletic, can convert that speed to power and get underneath the pads, use leverage, pass rush moves, and he's got everything there, even though he's yet to reach his ceiling. And it's a nice addition for a franchise that dropped the ball and not bringing back the John Elway Bull Durhams as their full-time uniform. With the 13th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. Look, in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, snag your top-flight corner here and address the trenches with the 44th pick in the second round. Arnold feels like the type of guy that would be a Raider. Doesn't have a ton of experience with only 1 year as a full-time starter, but comes with the talent and traits that you just can't coach. He didn't run out of the combine at Lucas Oil Stadium. 4.50 as a 40 time, which is still decent, even if it's not the 4.28 by Nate Wiggins or a 4.33 that Quinion Mitchell ran. But if you watch him play, he's got that long play speed that you want. He has recovery speed. He can line up in the slot for you as well. And you'll notice the occasional misstep, in coverage with Arnold. But I think you trust your coaching, and I love Byron Murphy out of Texas, but you've got to look at positional value here. When you play Patrick Mahomes and Herbert 4 times a year and that proverbial cupboard's already kind of bare, you take care of your perimeter first and then look elsewhere. With the 14th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. The uncertainty of Ryan Ramczyk's future is what moves the tackle spot up the priority list for the Saints, and they happen to fall right in the sweet spot for the position. And despite playing at right tackle, Latham's a massive motherfucker. It's 6'6", 340, and has the strength that you'd want to go with that size. And no surprise here, he's got huge hands, 11 inches. Great for that initial punch to latch on and drive you in the run game as well. He's great in pass pro, only allowed 2 sacks. Trevor Penning hasn't exactly been awesome since the Saints spent a first rounder on him 2 years ago, so Latham provides a piece of stability for the future along the New Orleans offensive line. With the 15th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa. DeJean's one of my favorite players in this draft, full disclosure, and Colts GM Chris Ballard drafts pretty smart, and I think he'll recognize the talent and value of DeJean, especially at a position of need. It makes too much sense. And corner's a strength of this draft, but I like DeJean to Indy because of the versatility he brings. He could make an impact anywhere from outside to the slot, even at safety. He's that big nickel position that teams covet these days, and he's even nice at returning punts. Good size, 6'1", 205. He's just an elite athlete. Quick, great footwork. He's the best run defender of any DB in this class. There's just not a glaring weakness in his game. He's a complete player. And he consistently gets mocked to Green Bay at 25 in the bottom half of the first round. And I don't think he lasts that long. I see DeJean as a Kyle Hamilton type guy, day one impact player. That Colts defensive coordinator Gus Bradley will be able to use as a chess piece in a division with the electric C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, and a gutsy Will Levis. With the 16th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman out of Washington. Seattle stays at home here for this pick. An edge rusher also makes a ton of sense here, but you never really know what Seahawks GM John Schneider is going to do, and they could use some depth along the O-line here. Fautanu played left tackle for the Huskies. He says he's a tackle, but also can project a guard, so you've got the potential versatility with Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas with the knee injury, and George Fant returning as well. You're getting a mauler in this guy. With active hands, good footwork, solid anchor to him as well. He's got nice lateral movement. The hand placement could improve a little bit for him to truly thrive at the next level, but he's a blue-collar, hard-nosed player who's going to take to hard coaching, and that versatility is going to be able to find him a home in Seattle's trenches. With the 17th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Jared Verse, edge rusher out of Florida State. The Jags get a steal here in Verse, who's got all the tools to end up going down as the best edge rusher in this draft when it's all said and done. He crushed it at the combine to add to that impressive college resume where he put up 18 sacks and 29 TFLs in Tallahassee. Explosive, twitchy, but he can also be a powerhouse with that bull rush along the edge. He's got a great get-off, great first step to go along with those pass rush moves. He's got active hands, can bend the edge, closing speed from Verse. He's a day one impact player that's not the most pressing need here, no, but can give Duval a very, very nice rotation along with Josh Allen and former first overall pick Trayvon Walker. With the 18th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State. And we're in the middle of a run on offensive linemen. And while I can see Cincinnati going in another direction, Joe Burrow missed more time last year, costing the Bengals a playoff spot. And you've got to find long-term solutions in the trenches rather than just a series of Band-Aids. And yes, you got Trent Brown on a 1-year deal, and that's fine. And if that holds up, Fashanu is still the future for number 9 in the Bengals. He's not excellent as a run blocker. He's solid, but he excels on an island in pass pro. 0 sacks allowed in 2023, which is music to the ears of Joe Shiesty. You know, smaller hands for the position at 8.5 inches, for whatever that's worth to you. If you're a combine and measurables person, so does Christian Darrisaw. And he's been great for Minnesota ever since they took him in the first round in 2021. So Fashanu's stock seems to have dropped a little bit. He was a mainstay in the top 10 a couple months ago, and you see this sometimes, and there's no real reason for it aside from other guys improve their stock along the pre-draft process, and some guys get shuffled down the board as a result. So this is something that Cincinnati could benefit greatly from. With the 19th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Taliza Fuaga, offensive lineman out of Oregon State. The Rams hit a home run with Steve Avila in the second round last year, but could still afford to fortify that offensive line with the top 3 edge rushers off the board. Maybe a Byron Murphy here if this is the way the board falls, with Aaron Donald retiring surprisingly. But in Fuaga, you get an elite run blocker. His just the picture of consistency. He's explosive, quick feet for a guy his size, 6'6", 325, just a bulldozer that plays with a mean streak. He's got some nasty to him, and there's talk that he's better off at guard. I think he's plug and play at right tackle, and he just feels like a guy that Rams GM Les Snead would fall in love with. With the 20th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon, and receiver is possible here. The Steelers have always been good at finding starters on the perimeter on day 2 and day 3. JPJ just feels like a Steeler pick, and center is the most obvious need for Pittsburgh. He's the best center in a pesky good group of centers in this class. He's the reigning Remington Trophy winner as the best center in college football. 6'3", 330. Heavy hands, plays with a nasty demeanor, incredible upper body strength, and he's got that football IQ that you want from a center. His pads can get a little high. He'll rely on that upper body strength, that brute strength sometimes, but that can be coached. And other than that, he's got all the essentials that you want at the position for a team that's got 2 centers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Mike Webster and Dermontti Dawson. Powers Johnson makes too much sense for Pittsburgh here. With the 21st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Graham Barton, offensive lineman out of Duke. And it feels like Miami could always use a little help along the offensive line, and Barton's great value here with a safe floor at the next level. He tested well at his pro day, has great measurables. He's got the size to play tackle. It's 6'5", 313, but he projects along that interior where he's also got experience at center. So you get the versatility there. He has good hands, can get to the second level smoothly. He's fluid in the run game, anchors, wide base, and pass pro. He was one of my favorites to watch among this class, especially along the offensive line. Barton's a day 1 starter for the Miami Dolphins. With the 22nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Chop Robinson, edge rusher out of Penn State. And again, full disclosure, as an Eagles fan, I always tend to differ from Howie Roseman on draft day. I'm going Cooper DeJean out of Iowa all day if he's there, but I don't think he will be. You got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back, and Howie seems content rolling with Darius Slay and James Bradbury for another year. You get Isaiah Rodgers activated now, and Avonte Maddox is back to play his obligatory 10 minutes of the season. I had Jackson Powers Johnson here until the Hassan Reddick trade. Bryce Huff got a nice contract in the free agency, and BG's back for a farewell tour. You know, you got Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith there as well, but that's not enough for Howie, who goes back to the well here with Chop Robinson, who the Eagles hosted for a pre-draft visit, and they've got a track record of taking guys that they bring in for pre-draft visits. 2 years at Maryland before transferring to Penn State. The numbers aren't there in the stat sheet, but that's never bothered Howie Roseman before. He'll draft guys based on traits, and Robinson definitely has a good foundation to work with. He's kind of a developmental player, somewhat almost like a Brandon Graham, and, the pass rush moves aren't great just yet, but when you watch him, he's so damn twitchy at the line of scrimmage, and you don't get that with everybody along the edge. Monster combine in Indy, 4.48 40 time, 1.54 10-yard split, and to me, this just reeks of a guy lost and a guy to replenish the depth chart for Howie Roseman, which is what he does. 2 straight defensive tackles in the first round the last 2 years with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Chop Robinson keeps a deep rotation of edge rushers for new defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. With the 23rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas. And this is one of those that really feels like pissing in the wind and is the downside of not projecting trades. I don't think Minnesota owns this pick by the time it arrives on Thursday night. And if you believe what's out there, Murphy won't be available at this spot anyway. But for this exercise, say the Vikings can't pull off a trade, this would absolutely be an ideal scenario for the Vikings. He was a force for the Longhorns in the run to the college football playoff. 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss from the interior defensive line spot. Weighing in at nearly 300 pounds, he clocked a 4.88 40 at the combine, a 1.69 10-yard split. He's explosive off the snap, powerful, doesn't have a lot of wasted movement. The knock on him is he's a bit undersized, just over 6 foot with 32.5-inch arms, but his lower half is so dense that it should balance out that lack of ideal height a little bit. He's built like a bowling ball. Murphy's expected to go in the top 20 by many. Some think he's going to be the first defensive player off the board. That's a little rich to me, but, look, out of the picks we've discussed here and the ones that left that we will discuss, this is probably the one that I'm least confident in, even though it would be a hell of a pick. With the 24th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. It's been a quiet start to the 2024 league year for the Cowboys, who sat back while everybody else in the NFC East just got better. After Tyron Smith signed with the Jets, former first-rounder Tyler Smith said he's comfortable playing left tackle, which is what he did at Tulsa, but he's coming off a year where he was a Pro Bowler at guard. Guyton makes sense for Dallas at 6'7", 340 pounds, and coming off a year in which he didn't allow a sack as a Sooner. He's got all the tools you want, all the measurables, but he's a little raw with only 14 starts under his belt. But he's got great upside and gives the Cowboys some depth along an offensive line that used to be among the best in the NFL. With the 25th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota. Cooper DeJean, again, is the popular choice in mocks, but I remain steadfast in saying that he's too damn good to make it to this point. So Packers GM Brian Gutekunst snatches up the next best safety in the draft. And Nubin leaves Minnesota as the program's all-time leader in interceptions with 13 after playing 55 games as a Gopher, coming off a career-high 5 in 2023 after coming back as a senior. He's a ball hawk, instinctive, always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's just one of those guys. Good size, 6'1", 200 pounds with length. Might not have that flashy speed, but he's got great range and the ball skills you want on the back end. The Packers signed Xavier McKinney at the outset of free agency, but lost former first-round pick Darnell Savage to Jacksonville. And in an NFC North that's only getting more and more competitive, Nubin gives McKinney a top-flight tag team partner on the back end for Green Bay. With the 26th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Zach Frazier, center out of West Virginia. The Bucs O-line used to be a strength, but shit's gotten a little weird in the trenches for Tampa over the past couple of years. 2 years ago, Pro Bowl guard Ali Marpet retired. Then center Ryan Jensen suffered a knee injury that forced him to retire. And suddenly, outside of Tristan Wirfs, who's a fucking stud, this is now an area that needs to be addressed. And by this point, the high-end guards are all off the board as well as the top center in Powers Johnson. And while there's needs everywhere, not everywhere, but elsewhere on the roster, I like Frazier as a fit here. Good size, 6'3", 313. He's a blue-collar player that's intelligent, excels at pre-snap reads. You can see his eyes are very active when he gets to the line of scrimmage. And you're going to hear the short arms at 32 1/4 inches, but I'll always go back to Tyler Linderbaum measuring 31 1/8 inch. 2 years ago at the Combine, and he's a Pro Bowler and one of the best young centers in the NFL. So Frazier's got that quick punch and pass pro, square pads, good upper body strength that allows him to move guys with his short fucking arms. He can pick up a blitz, coming through the A-gap there, and you can move Robert Hainsey as a backup at center, or since he played tackle in college, he could even fill in at guard if either Cody Mauch or newly acquired Sue Opeta suffer an injury. And I know this is an uncommon pick from the mocks I've seen, but with Baker Mayfield coming back on a 3-year contract, I'm sure he'd appreciate not being flushed out of the pocket so often. With the 27th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. So after snagging Marvin Harrison Jr. at the top of the draft, and with the elite edge rushers of this class off the board, GM Monty Ossenfort pivots to the secondary here, and opposing quarterbacks couldn't make much happen when going Wiggins' way in 2023. According to Pro Football Focus, he only allowed 18 catches for 176 yards and a touchdown. And coupled with his numbers, that made for a 44.4 passer rating last year. Only 2 interceptions, 3 total in college, but he's more of a cover corner than he is a ball hawk. He's got good height at 6'1", length, but he's only 175 pounds, so he's a slight 6'1", and that does show up a bit when it's time to mix it up. He's a great athlete with top-end speed, ran a 4.28 at the Combine. He gives Arizona and Jonathan Gannon a corner that they sorely need right now, or sorely need, rather. With the 28th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. Buffalo's just been as leaky as Dusty Rhodes' forehead this offseason. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. They signed Lyle Collins, but Mitch Morse departed. Huge loss for the Bills. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs trade to Houston. Gabe Davis signs with Jacksonville. And Khalil Shakir is a good player. I like him, but I don't know that I think he's a wide receiver one. Curtis Samuel's a nice depth piece. And trust me, as an Eagles fan, Mac Hollins is just a dude. But Thomas gives Josh Allen a presence on the perimeter in the absence of Diggs. You love the size at 6'3", 210 pounds. He emerged as a lethal deep threat for Jaden Daniels last year, just putting up video game numbers, nearly 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns while averaging over 17 yards per catch in the SEC. Now, he's a bit of a one-trick pony in that he'll easily take the top off the defense for you with that 4.33 speed, and he's going to be able to burn NFL DBs, but he's not a guy that's going to be able to effectively run the entire route tree for you. But Buffalo's incredibly high on Khalil Shakir, and understandably so, he's a good player. Thomas Jr. is a nice complement to the skill set that Shakir has at this point in the night. With the 29th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Ennis Rakestraw Jr., cornerback out of Missouri. And I know Rakestraw is polarizing. I get that. I love him. And this is a team that took Jack Campbell with the 18th overall pick last year, and it worked out. Lions GM Brad Holmes and, obviously head coach Dan Campbell are looking for guys that fit what they want to do in Detroit. We all know that. It's a mindset. And for that reason exactly, I've had Rakestraw at this spot for some time. He started as a true freshman and led the team in PBUs. He's a physical, aggressive corner. Great at jamming wide receivers at the line. There's games where you'll see quarterbacks avoid him entirely. He plays faster than his 40 time. He ran a 4.51, but Terrion Arnold ran a 4.5 flat. And, there you go. Rakestraw's got recovery speed. When you watch him on tape, he's got length that allows him to break up the ball if he, break up the pass if he does get beat. Only 1 interception in college, but had 24 PBUs. The downside with him is that aggression is going to draw some flags in the NFL. But when you talk about a player to team fit in this draft, I just think Rakestraw to Detroit fits like a glove. With the 30th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. The Ravens are consistently among the NFL's best teams because they consistently draft so well year in and year out. Eric DeCosta lets the board fall to him, snags the best player available, and this is no different here. You know, looking back, last year, Zay Flowers was electric as a rookie with the ball in his hands. Now, he was cleared by the league after an investigation into an alleged assault incident, but OBJ is gone, Rashad Bateman can't stay healthy, and Nelson Aguilar's fucking Nelson Aguilar. Mitchell killed it at the combine. 4.35 40, 39.5-inch vertical, and an 11-foot 4-inch broad jump. He's got that speed to take the top off as well, can line up inside, can line up outside, runs great routes, can make plays even when he's covered. He'll go up to the top shelf, get those 50-50 balls for you. He's a deep ball tracker. A.D. Mitchell allows Lamar Jackson and Todd Monken to stay young on the perimeter for a few years, with their Super Bowl window wide open as they continue to pursue that elusive Lombardi trophy. With the 31st pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Roger Rosengarten, offensive tackle out of Washington. And while I could easily see this pick being a defensive lineman, Trent Williams just isn't getting any younger. He's going to be 36 when the 2024 season gets underway. Rosengarten's one of my favorite players in this draft, and the Niners held a private workout with him during the pre-draft process. 6'5", 310 pounds. Two-year starter at Washington with 28 starts at right tackle and didn't allow a single sack, despite how pass-happy the Huskies were with Michael Penix Jr. He's quick off the ball in pass pro. He's got the range, the length to keep defenders at a distance. He's good in the running game as well. He can climb and get to the second level, but he needs to improve that anchor to consistently succeed at the next level. He doesn't have that base that a Fuaga does, but he's got all the tools, and he's an investment in life after Trent Williams. Last pick of the night with the 32nd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Ladd McConkey, wide receiver out of Georgia. And with Rashee Rice, who's the Chiefs' best receiver, likely facing a suspension following a car crash in Dallas where he was clocked doing nearly 120 miles an hour, an already thin wide receiver room in Kansas City could be in even worse shape. Wide receiver is a popular pick at this spot for that reason. It could be any of the remaining guys, but McConkey is one of my favorite players in this draft, and I promised myself I'd work him in, and I honestly believe that he does, even bias aside and liking him as a player. I think he gets taken before Thursday night's over with either way. 6 foot, 186 pounds, a little undersized, but so was Devontae Smith. McConkey's an awesome route runner, and don't pay attention to the box scores with him. Georgia ran the ball a lot and had Brock Bowers. McConkey missed a handful of games due to an injury. You're not drafting him for the numbers he put up in college. You're drafting him for the player he can be at the next level. He gets in and out of his breaks, great transitional speed, and he won't burn defenders with straight line speed. You know, he's not a burner, but when he gets in the open field, he's got long speed. He's a yak yardage machine. Can snag the ball, get upfield, turn, get you those yak yards. He can beat you on the outside. He can beat you from the slot, can win against man coverage. He's another guy willing to mix it up in the run game, get dirty a little bit, do some of that dirty work. And on a roster that saw Marcus Valdez-Scantling catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl, McConkey gives KC another receiver other than Rashee Rice that actually feels like a legitimate NFL receiver. So that does it for our 2024 first-round mock draft. Who do you want your team to draft? What do you think of the picks that we made here today? Let us know in the comments section. And thank you for watching our first video here on Draft University, where I look forward to bringing you all sorts of content during and after the 2024 NFL Draft. Hit the subscribe button to be a part of it, and enjoy draft weekend. We'll see you next time.